Hey everybody, welcome back to Switched On with Paul Moderman and James Wood. I am Paul Moderman, and with me today is James Wood. I mean, as you would expect by the title of the show, James Wood is here. Say hi, James.
Hey there, everyone.
We're coming at you with a very special Switched On today. We are brainstorming and reviewing and thinking about our own Santa wish list for enterprise and software and whatever else in tech in the world. And so we've each got two or three items on our wish list that we haven't shared with each other, um, that we're gonna kind of plow down and announce to the world and see if it's either crazy or doable or not doable or whatever, just in terms of technology, life, etc., and so on. So, nothing further ado, James, hit us with your first item. What's the first thing on your wish list?
Um, I'm gonna say the best term for this. I'll call it cloud maturity.
Mm,
I think, we've gotten past the phase of, I'll never go to the cloud. You'll have to drag me kicking and screaming to
mm,
we're somewhere on the roadmap. We've maybe forklifted some
mm.
things to the cloud. But if you think about it in terms of the cloud stack, like we're kind of still at that IaaS layer to a large
Yeah,
extent,
yeah,
and I think some of the goodies are at that next level. Getting
yeah,
to the platform level,
yeah.
getting to we can have more meaningful and interesting conversations once we get a little bit further down the road there.
That's totally true. And I think I even think about that in terms of like, sometimes when, I'm helping somebody, do something at or think about something at that next layer up, I kind of go in and I hunt around their cloud environment and I realize that everything was set up with IaaS in mind, right? There was really no thought given to, like, once I reach platform maturity, what do I do and where do I go? Right? It was all like
Yeah,
I've got machines in buckets and I've got buckets cost managed by machine types and whatever else, right? And
yeah,
okay, good, I'm good. Now I'm in the cloud. Um, and that next level up, just like you were saying, is like that's kind of where the action is too, right? That's
yeah,
where that's where ideas can really meet the road in terms of, like, I can express what I want for my business to do, and then that platform layer and even the layers above that too are where that can happen, right? In other words,
yeah,
there's no business idea that is fully accomplished by I now have 12 M3 large X2 whatever blah blah blah
right.
things, right? You need the software on those things to do it. So that, yeah, you're totally right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's the cloud maturity. Okay. Cloud maturity, number one for James. At the top of my list, I don't know if I didn't really rank it, but the top of my list is uh manageability in the face of continuing innovation, right? So just like it's like every day I pop open Twitter or I pop open Hacker News or whatever, and I see a thing that all the nerds think is going to change the universe
Yeah,
forever, and I'm in that crew, like I'm in that group who believes that too, right? But the action happening in there, and I'm thinking mostly about Chat GPT, Stable Diffusion, all that kind of good stuff that's just blowing up in terms of what does it mean to be an artist? What does it mean to be a writer? All that kind of good stuff. Um,
right.
IT departments at big companies get left behind from that stuff. And I'm not talking about just those things either. I'm talking about just like a lot of the new fancy stuff goes sort of plowing ahead of those IT departments, those techies who are in there who want to be doing the stuff, but they're kind of in a world of, yeah, but I have to keep the campfire warm on this ancient mainframe, right? And
Yeah,
I have to keep the diesel topped off on this, like, super old Windows box that runs the
yeah,
last leg of a system that I installed 25 years ago, right? That so that that for my fellow nerds who work in IT departments, I wish for them to get the chance to play with and grasp and really wrangle through those new things that are just popping out there all over the place. Um,
Interesting.
the moving along now to the next item on the list. James, what's the next wish list item on your enterprise software holiday wish list?
Um, eh, I didn't really order mine.
Hmm.
But I think my second one kind of sort of goes with the first.
Hmm.
But I'll focus in a level and say ERP migration completion. Of course, we operate
Yeah,
very frequently in and around the SAP space.
yeah,
Um, for me, S4HANA, um, it's a fine product, don't get me wrong, but it is in many ways an obstacle for innovation
yeah.
because, we've talked about it around here. There's this bell curve that kind of exists of, depending on where you are in your roadmap, either you're in the process of thinking about it. And so there's kind of this pseudo freeze that goes along with that. Then the actual implementation itself,
Yeah.
which takes months, if not more than months.
And
And
tons of
then,
people's time. Yeah.
yeah, and then, the stabilization phase that comes after
Hmm.
it, you can start to kind of look and say, well, that's a 3 year, 4 year window.
Yeah.
And, frequently from an IT perspective, what comes with that is a freeze on innovation.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then that's that's interesting too, because then you would also imagine that like by the time you get back to that list is now by some crazy percent invalid anymore, right?
Yeah,
Because if a year or two has gone by, how many things on your list are still matter to you as a business, right?
yeah,
Not none of them, but not all of them either, right?
yeah,
And so it's got that sort of tidal wave effect, I guess, on those things that they where they could have mattered. Even a 1 year, even a thing that takes 3 months to do that only has a life cycle of 1 year, that can really still have a huge impact. And all
yeah.
of those things just like wash away in the tide of these gigantic ERP things.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not unique to SAP. I mean, I think a lot
Yeah,
of,
no.
ERP ecosystems are in a similar boat, but, you know, uh, being the monolith that they are,
Yeah.
it's the hardest part, I think, of that cloud migration process is, what is my long-term quote unquote cloud ERP strategy?
Hmm. Hmm.
And, it's very, very disruptive. And I think realistically, part of the elephant in the room, despite best efforts by sales reps to convince customers otherwise, these modern ERP systems are a platform to innovate on to a certain
Hmm.
extent, but they do not in and of themselves bring innovation straight away.
That's a really good point that there's a lot of them, and again, we are not specifically not on SAP here. That there's like these projects are really oftentimes focused just on the upgrade and not on bringing the
Yeah,
things, bringing the oh now I can do what? Oh, now you can do the same things, but now that we're done with the upgrade, now you can go back to thinking about how you could do more things with this kind of stuff. Yeah, it has that flavor
yeah.
to it. Yeah.
I just need
Um,
need need things to settle.
yeah. Stop the like just take the shark out of the pool now and I'll get back in and swim. Um okay, so my second thing has some bears some relation to that stuff a little bit. My second wish for like my fellow techies, my fellow vendors, all that kind of stuff is that with big software, with vendor provided software, data and data integration is a top tier concern or should
Mhm.
be a top tier concern because nobody nobody swims alone these days in software. Nobody swims alone. and the amount of time that places like Bodark, quite frankly, or other places spend like wrestling the python of data to sort of go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
um like it should be simpler. It should, like, so much time is spent on that. Okay, so it's in these tables, but there's no API. We have to go through a SQL adapter over here. Oh, but this one has an API. Okay, all that kind of stuff. Like, vendors, please come to the table with the plan for your customers of clear, simple, powerful way for the data in your application to be sliced off and diced off and shared and whatever else. That is my earnest wish for software these days. Um, yeah. So,
I like that.
James, do you have a third item? Do you have a number three here?
Yeah. I think for me the other major item is just an embrace of data science and machine learning.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
I mean, talk about buzzwords. I mean, you hear AI,
yeah,
ML all the time,
yeah,
but in the enterprise space, it's looming, but I don't ever feel like it's taken as seriously as it needs to be.
yeah,
You know, it's
yeah,
so much of a focus, especially around business systems, enterprise software, forms over data. You know, we
yeah,
just get more apps,
yeah.
more, it's never. I mean, we've heard Hasso Plattner in the SAP space say for years, like we're trying to get past, system of record to decision support.
Yep.
And you look at where we are now, and I, I think my frustration is you look at it, I mean, these ERP systems for a lot of customers have been around now for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
The data's there.
Yeah.
We can get our hands, especially now with cloud, technology, we can get our hands on external data sets.
Mm-hmm.
We can mash that together quickly. We can draw insights,
Yep.
and you know the at the end of the day, I mean, there really are no functional or technical obstacles. I feel
No.
like the next shoe to drop is just getting past whatever that
Mm-hmm.
fear of this
Mm-hmm.
side of computer science is for a lot of
Yeah.
people. It's like this. Uh, and obviously, it's important in the enterprise space to have transparency in processing. I
Mm-hmm.
get that. Voodoo magic is not a great selling point for. Trust me, this algorithm will transform your world. But I mean, that's the thing that when you talk about leveling up value, I
Yeah.
feel like it's been this tool that we've had in our chest for a long time. And in some cases, with some customers, it is just a non-starter. They're not there
Yeah.
yet.
If I can hop on this bandwagon for a second here too.
Yeah.
Um, wrote a book with a good friend of mine, Greg Foss, on this very subject. And one of the key phrases right along with what you're saying here is that these days with data science, machine learning, that really focus on next generation analysis, you like if you are interested, you the listener, if you are interested, you do not have to procure a rack full of GPUs to do what you need to do. Like, literally your laptop right now can do the things you need to do to start answering some data questions. And if you just take the time to think about, like, what is the meaning of what all my data is, and how can I ask questions and explore the answers to it, you'll find that, like, the tools you need they're not going to break the bank unless your data set doesn't fit in a rack of servers, right? But
Yeah.
other than that, like, you can go get it and do your data science at your laptop right now. It's
Well, and
yeah,
I would add to that, in many cases, depending on which toolkit you're using and things like that, not only can you do all the things that you just described, but you can arrive at measurable results,
yeah, yeah.
within, 97, 98% accuracy.
Hmm.
So, that's the kind of stuff where, maybe you don't fully trust it. That's fine.
Hmm.
Just from a decision support angle, if we're operating at that high of a level of percentage of accuracy, then
Hmm.
at the very least, start thinking about how that improves your day-to-day business processes where you can still have a human being with oversight, but
Hmm.
look at how much the system is
Yeah.
helping that person.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh man. I'm so glad you said that. This is a very good one, James. I really like this one. Um, my third one is a little bit on the human side of things, I think. So my thesis here is that like, and this I guess this comes from personal experience, but I see it a lot too, is that I think a lot of techies, a lot of nerds, or people who are tech adjacent even, are walking around with a lot of stress in their lives. And I think there's a temptation to feel like, oh, I need to do XYZ to keep up with whoever else. I need to do XYZ to make sure I'm demonstrating my value. I need to do this, all this kind of stuff. And it makes you eat yourself into the grave. It makes you stay up later than you should. It makes you do all these crazy, stupid things that you shouldn't be doing, that you do to yourself when you have these sort of beliefs that like unless you act now, you will be left behind in the universe of technology and whatever else. My wish for everybody, and then it includes me, like I make this mistake all the time. It includes me, is that like there there are other things. Like I'm speaking from experience here, listeners. There are other things in life, especially and including like the holidays themselves, right? That
Yeah,
have so much more meaning than that dumb that dumb method that won't compile, right? Or that dumb bug that is just eating your life from 9 to 5. Like when 5 o'clock comes around, you can shut your machine off and not think about that until 9 o'clock or whatever your start time is, right?
yeah,
The next day. Like you can, it is not only is it allowed, it's better for you if you do that. Um, so my wish is for the nerds out there to believe it, take it to heart, and simmer yourself in that stew for a little bit and realize, hey, it's cool. I can go do other things if I want to. No big deal.
yeah.
That's my third
That's
wish.
that's very important stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so easy
So easy.
to
It's
get burned
so
out,
easy.
and
Like,
you
and
know,
I say it from a place of like, I literally, I literally fight that demon every day. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
literally like, like when 5 o'clock or 5:30 or whatever time shifts are for the stop time of the day, like that little nagging thing of like, there was one more thing and you almost had it figured out. Like it stays planted and dismissing that little warning box or whatever from your mental screen is a thing that is challenging and tough, but man, is it valuable when you can practice it, and it takes practice, I think.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
tech can absolutely be fun, but I
Hmm.
think it's important to remind ourselves that there's no real clock on this thing. You don't
Yeah.
have to achieve
No.
certain level of
No.
knowledge accumulation by this
No.
date, or it. I always tell young people that will ask me, like they want like a step by step process. What are the things I need to learn to get to a
Hmm.
certain spot? And I think the answer there is, if you're focused on, a lot of the core stuff, that knowledge is built and built and built.
Yeah.
And I think if you look back over the course of a year, I mean, there's no telling how many, petabytes of information have entered
Hmm.
into your brain,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so I mean, be proud of that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't
It's
have
totally
to like
true.
feel guilty all the time, like, oh gosh, I don't know
No.
this, I don't know that,
If you're
great
yeah,
stuff.
if your title is the same title as it was at the start of the year, that is totally okay. It doesn't matter a single bit. That's
Yeah.
just that's just the way it works out. Yeah. Okay. Well, so from us here at Switched On, Paul and James, We are wishing you and yours happy holidays, whatever you might be celebrating. That is awesome. And we look forward to doing more and more really cool stuff in the coming year with more tech, more nerdery, more whatever else. So, from all of us, happy holidays. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.